Most companies have a GTM strategy, but very few have a GTM that actually gets the money. If your go-to-market feels like a series of broken spreadsheets and missed targets, it's time for a system update. Welcome to GTM, get the money live. I'm Chris Ryan and I'm Lee Parillo, your host, and we're here to install the operating system for your revenue. We're moving past the theory and getting into the high-stakes execution of what it takes to scale in 2020 fast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome out to GTM Get the Money. Get the Money is a show all about go-to-market and how to solve revenue problems, but we don't solve revenue problems for the sake of revenue. We solve revenue problems so they can deliver good and growth. We believe that if we help companies generate revenue, they will give back to the people around them, their employees, and their communities. Very excited today. I have a ton of great guests, and I have Warren Zeiser today from We Rise Consulting. Warren, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on?
Thank you for coming in. I've been excited to get you on the show, and I know your schedule's busy, so I appreciate you taking the time. So, Warren, We Rise, which is a bit of a tongue twister. We Rise, you do something really interesting. You'll come in and you'll build permanent processes for businesses. So SMB market, mainly like 2 million to 50 million plus, correct? You're coming in and I don't want to say solving all the problems, but you had a litany of problems you could solve, like accountability and strategic planning, KPIs, hiring. So when you walk into a company, there's a level of operational chaos that's happening.
Correct.
And we're all kind of putting out fires all at the same time. When you walk into a company on day one, how do you prioritize that operational chaos? Like, where do you start? What's the first thing you do without stopping the revenue machine? Because it's vital.
Yeah, really good question. And I will tell you, first of all, every company is different, right? So their needs are different, but they all fall into this series of buckets. And so when I come in, the last thing I'm going to do is disrupt revenue. And actually, when the time is right, we're going to accelerate the revenue. But it's coming in and identifying where their challenges are, putting a priority to it, what's most important, and then creating the time. And this is something you and I just spoke about before. And this year is 10 years for We Rise Consulting.
Congratulations.
So thank you. And working with a lot of great companies, I can't recall a single client that I've ever had who said, I got plenty of time to implement this stuff, Lauren. Yeah, bring it on. They all tell me we don't have time. And when I talk about what's important in running any business, hiring, period, amen, number one, there isn't a close second. You have to be able to hire great people on your team, and it takes time, patience, strategy. And then communication, having your KPIs, training, performance evaluations, good processes, all those things really matter. And the pushback that I get is, Warren, we just don't have the time to do this. And I'm sorry, but it's nonsense. Most entrepreneurs, most leaders, and most teams are busy, of course, busy all day. And no matter what you take away, it's like a cluttered garage. Clear that garage out, and in 2 weeks, it's full of crap again, right? So we have to clear out areas where things that they're doing that they shouldn't be doing, and then insert useful processes and procedures. So I come in and we identify all the things that a business owner or their team, all the things they're doing that are below their pay grade, or they could be automated or even eliminated. And we delegate certain things, we eliminate some of those, we automate others. And then we take that free time and we insert really good processes, time boxing, if you will, right? So we have to have time for strategy. Chris, if you and I were going to build a house, what's the first or most important tool that we need?
Well, a vision of what we want for our house.
We need a pencil.
Yeah.
Not a hammer, right? And the business owners are picking up hammers and they're just swinging and putting nails in wherever they have to. The pencil's the most important thing. We have to take time to design the vision. Without that, it is chaos. So I help them with that, the design. So we have to put time aside where we get together with the team. We identify all the issues that you're having. We figure out which ones are the most important. And then we put together a plan to either implement solutions, remove roadblocks. We assign ownership to one person in the organization. We assign a timeline, deadlines are everything. And then we define what done looks like. Like, what does it look like when it's done? So everybody knows what the house is supposed to look like, and when you put that stuff in, look, we're business owners are busy doing things that they really shouldn't be doing. I remember having a client, and we worked on this for a year, ripping from their death grip all the things that they thought were so important that only they could do. And we made a lot of progress. One day I walked into the building, and there is the owner of the business. And this is a $25 million company, very successful company here in Saratoga. And their number one and number two employee standing, changing the light bulbs in the ceiling. And I walked in and I just stood there. It took about 30 seconds before they noticed me. And they said, "Oh shit, look, Warren's here." Like, stop doing that stuff. Yeah. Stop doing all the things that are below your pay grade and actually take time to do the hard stuff, the stuff that matters, that eliminates chaos.
Because time is so limited, and you're helping companies that sound like go from startup, self-employed to organizational development, and being able to build out a C-suite team once you start to get to that level. I think the hardest part from SMBs to jump to mid-market is the lack of process, right? So we're all trying to figure it out. We're all jumping all over whatever the latest operating system is or the latest tool. And, then you're just kind of stuck putting fires out like we talked about.
Task in front of me, must get it done. And it's, we're being reactive as business owners. And it's unbelievable, the transformation when you take the time to implement a great hiring process. It's not going to eliminate bad hires, but it's going to minimize it. When you put in really good training, onboarding, and then continuous training, right? Things like that actually create calm in the business. And I recall a client that I had for 2 years right after COVID, and she was having breakdowns from how busy she was. One day, we're 6 months into it, we put the processes in place. I always insist that you have an executive assistant of some kind. We put that person in place. And one day I walked into the building and she was waiting for me in the conference room. She's always late. This time she's waiting for me. And I said, what are you doing here so early? She said, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing today. And it was the coolest thing to see this person who was the poster child for that reactive breakneck pace now saying, I'm actually having some calmness in my business.
And that's where the magic comes, because we all say time because we feel there's something missing, right? This is the reason why entrepreneurs are up all hours of every night, because you're just thinking oh my God, I need to do this. I need to get up earlier. I need to work more. And that's not the answer. You're right. Process for me, and I'll be frank, is very hard for me to adopt process. It's very hard for me to not try to perfect something. I'm guessing you must run into that type of leader all the time, right? Well, can we make it better? Can we make hiring better? How do you approach that?
Well, I always say most clients will have a problem for every solution. I'll say we have to do this, and they'll say, yeah, but if we do that, then this would happen. And there isn't a perfect solution, but it will be better than what you had. So we have to just change that mindset. And you think about, as an entrepreneur, you grew this business. And again, my clients are 2 million to 50 is about the average, but I have plenty of clients that are under $1 million. I've got some that are in the hundreds of millions, but that 2 to 50 is the sweet spot. And they built the business doing all these things, doing it a certain way. And it got to a point where it's successful. It makes money. They've got people that they are responsible for. And then they have to go to that next level. And the word process is, I kind of hate the word, right? Because it sounds so gross. Nobody's interested in process. It's more just a standardized way of doing things. It's like if we're building IKEA furniture, right? I don't just throw the parts on the floor and figure it out. Let's step 1, do this, step 2, do that. Let's just do it systematically in order. And it does it by itself. In other words, the process carries us through instead of waiting for people to figure out what to do next.
Well, that was a McDonald's methodology, right? With Croft. He came in and he's like, oh, I'm going to turn this into an assembly line. And I'm sure they made great burgers back then.
Right.
And then they built this process. Again, SMBs, you're trying to figure everything out. I think it's really hard for some people, with my type of personality, that are trying to over-perfect it. But I will tell you, through our growth, I'll use hiring because that seems to be a key point of your conversation. we developed a whole hiring process. A, I can't stand hiring.
Mm-hmm.
B, I want the outcome and the result of a great employee.
Yeah.
But we're like, here's what we're going to do, bing, bang, boom. And then we'll optimize it. But it's not just like going in and like, okay, I'm going to hire from my gut now, which is like what I used to do.
Yeah.
Got some good people that way, but not all the time.
Yeah, the perfection's not, it's great to strive for it, but it's not, it doesn't really exist. There's always going to be something we can do better. But it's just a series of steps forward, and this one client I was telling you about before where, their hiring was broken. Man, and this client I had in manufacturing, it was broken, and they were hiring out of desperation. And they would outsource it. They would use temporary hiring services and all those things, which have some value at times, but they couldn't do it themselves very well because they didn't make it a priority, and they were terrible at it. And they were desperate. So they were hiring. As you said, you hate hiring. I love it. When I tell you love it, it's one of my favorite things to do because it's like picking out all the perfect pieces. Building a great baseball team, I need to pick out somebody who's got speed, somebody who's got power, and whatever. And you get to assemble. That's the architecture. I love that piece. They were desperate, so they would just hire anybody. And then it wouldn't work. And then what they would say is, there are no good people out there. So they would blame the workforce and not themselves.
So then you move to accountability. And
listen, a lot of, for my clients, we argue a lot. We debate a lot. And I'm always kind of pointing the finger at them with a lot of love. But the entrepreneurs, we have to take more responsibility and accountability because it's us.
Yeah, for sure. When you're going into a business and you're instilling this accountability, because I feel like most good leaders are accountable or, should be. But if you don't want to do something, that's where the excuses come in, to your point of like, well, I hate hiring, so I don't want to do it. And it's their fault. There's not good people out there. Or I hate technology. I don't want to, this AI stuff is crazy, whatever the excuse is. But it sounds like, I want to back up a second. When you walk into the business on day one, I think you started with, I'm solving time. Basically, I'm going to help them with time blocking, whatever. But you're really solving prioritization. So it's more of what time is the excuse to get them a second to breathe. Is that fair to say?
Correct. Yeah. Like what I said to you before about my own business, that I started to say, I haven't had the time, and I corrected myself and I said, I didn't make the time, right? There's time. There's no doubt that there's time. And every entrepreneur wants to be busy, and we'll tout ourselves on being hard workers and grinders and putting in all sorts of crazy hours. I don't see any heroics in that. Run a calm business.
Yeah. And running a calm business, this is something that I'm going into year 16 of this business, and I was manic for years about getting things done. And like only in the last few years, I think, where I've actually been able to like take a breath. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm still running an SMB. I'm still, putting a lot of fires out, but it's not like, oh, I can actually just take time. And like, I spent most of December last year just taking time, doing the strategic plan for the year, readjusting because the market's shifting like crazy, especially. Yeah. So I'm like, drank my own Kool-Aid and tried to figure out the go-to-market for my company. Before, I never did that. I was like, okay, I need to do this. I'm self-employed. I need client delivery, whatever we're working on that day. So it's just the benefit of being able to do that and not do the work that other people could be better at or should be doing.
We've all been there. And I think it's the great entrepreneurs who figure out, hey, that's just not the way. It'll get me to a certain point. Maybe it gets me to 2 million. Maybe it gets me to 5 million. But there comes a point where, that's no longer a viable way to do things. So we have to figure out a better way. And, having time, setting aside time to actually think about your business. I insist with every client, we put in a series of meetings. And I know how people say, I hate meetings. Again, I love meetings. I love good meetings. I hate bad meetings. So I have this meeting structure that I use. We come in with a series of rules on how to run a good meeting. And then we have collaboration. We build what I call the fortress. And the fortress is all the people around you that touch your business that are critical to its success. How we find the absolute best A+ players in those roles. That's your fortress. They guide you and they protect you. And then we have meetings with them. We put smart people in a room once a month, quarterly and annually. And we talk about strategy. We talk about what needs to be done. What problem are we having? How do we fix it? Who's responsible for it? When do we get it done? What success did we have? Why did we have that success? And how do we duplicate it? Right? And you're actually sitting in a room, to your point, taking some time to do that. we talked about, I have that leadership hiking trip that I do. It's called the We Peak program. So I take entrepreneurs, rip them out of their offices, 4 people, they never met each other, or I'll do it within an organization with their team. And we go hiking in the woods, take them up to a mountain, relatively challenging, but not crazy difficult. They work together, they support each other, they talk through their issues, and we get to the top and they go up in the fire tower and they have that success together. And then we sit at the top of the mountain for an hour or 2 and we talk through our businesses. And it's unbelievable the conversation that flows because you get them out of the office and they actually have time. They're not answering the phone. They're not allowed. When you're on the hike, you can't, don't even
No
touch your
phones.
phone. Yeah. So it's just having that time to, we know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't know how to do it.
I saw your Fortress content piece. I think it was on YouTube or something. And I like how intentional you are, because a lot of leaders out there you accept certain things. You're like, okay, well, this person's a B player and I'm okay with having a B player. But you were very adamant about, like, you do not have anybody less than an A+ across the board. And it's not like every organization has nothing but A+ players.
Right.
But you're constantly trying to not replace them. That's not a fair thing to say, but you're trying to level up the team.
Yep.
Because I have to imagine those B players or C players will cost you an A+ player.
You have to have, look, I call it top grading, turn over the soil, right? You have to do that. I strive for these A+ players. I have the patience and the will and the know-how to find them, right? So for my own business, my first company, I was a partner in a $70 million a year company. We built that thing on hiring great people and creating a culture where our team was fired up. We shared the mission, we worked together, but we hired great people and we crushed it, and that's something I have to do that with my clients as well, and having I always call it getting B- to death. Your B- player in your organization, you don't even pay attention to. You're like, okay, they're fine. They do the job. It's okay. What? That's like going into a 5-star restaurant and the steak is mediocre and you accept it.
Yeah.
That's not what you did. That's not why you went there. So stop getting B- to death and put in the processes. And if it's not you doing the hiring, find somebody in your organization or outsource it or what have you. Find somebody who knows how to hire great people. Half your problems are solved.
I love this approach. And it's not just hiring. It's hiring, prioritization. It's building the culture around them, but it's putting them all in the same room to be able to have these people. That's go-to-market 101, like putting people to understand what's the real problem we have to solve. And I want to talk about the hiring because I didn't think we were going to go down this route, but it's opening my eyes quite a bit, because the one thing I can identify, and I'm sure CEOs out there can identify this too, once you have your first good hire, it's like this pressure valve gets released and you're like, oh, yeah, I don't have to do sales now because this person loves it and is so much better than me. And now I have a top producer. Yeah. And now I have an A+ player. But once you get that first kind of hire that's really good, it really kind of reshapes the way you look at the organization. Yeah. And then you try to repeat that. Yeah.
And the hire has to be, and yes, one is important. It sets a tone, but the key hires have to be influential. The people that are the A+, they have to be able to impact others and set the tone. And I'm a big Yankees fan. You think about Derek Jeter, he's a great baseball player. There were better, but he was a great baseball player. But his presence, his leadership, the example he set, you can't hit the cruise control button, right? You have to go at this with 100% doing your absolute best. And that's what having the right people in that fortress, if you will, those A+ players. And I have them be a part of the hiring process. I'm not going to hire anybody in the organization unless I get the approval from my other A+ players, because they see stuff that we as entrepreneurs do not see.
That's really interesting, because I think people just like, oh, again, how I used to hire, I like this girl a guy, and I'm just going to bring them in. And then, I've brought, admittedly so, people in that were not great fits because I made the mistake. Let's be accountable for what you are. But wow. So how do you identify that influential person though? Is it like, what do you do? Are there tests? Are there assessments?
So I will say, look, there's a certain amount of gut that does come into play. And gut is really wisdom, in my opinion. Wisdom comes from experience. I'm doing this I've been hiring for 20, 30 years. And you figure out the way, right? You crack that code. So I have an interview process that I do not waver on. There's a certain way that we write an ad that we're speaking to one person. I don't want to have 200 resumes. I want one. So I write an ad that speaks to one person, the person that I want. It fires them up. And how many times I've had somebody actually in an interview say, I got to tell you, I applied for this job because that ad was like you wrote it for me. Right. And that's a great sign. And then we do a pre-screen and we do another interview. Then we do a panel interview. There's a process. It takes, it's really 3 interviews and then 1 session with the owner. And the owner comes in and does an owner's interview, or what I call the founder's welcome. And we sit down and I'm going to tell you, now that you're working for me or about to, I'm going to tell you everything that you can expect from me as a leader, how I operate, what my priorities are, what I expect from you. And then when I do this is what I mean. When I say that, this is what and it's like getting to know each other in a relationship. You should be talking about this stuff. And then I ask them what's important to them, right? So the owner's going to find out what is important to this person. And now use that. Don't just shove it in a folder. Use that in your performance reviews and guide yourself on how you're going to treat this person.
So it's not just process. There is a level of like expectation setting early on, and like what does done look like? I'm guessing that's like
crazy.
What's the expectation on what I think done is like versus what you're coming in and the job description said?
Yeah, I see it all the time. The owner is just pissed that the team is not doing it right. And I say, have you ever sat down and really explained to them what your expectation is? Do you use the word excellence? I use the word excellence all the time. If you think you're going to mail it in, don't. Excellence always. This is my expectation. And I literally will write out, I have this document that I use, and it explains what done looks like. It's 1 paragraph. This is what done looks like. I'm going to give you the project. You work for me. When it looks like this, come to me. If you hit a roadblock and you need some help and you couldn't figure it out, come to me.
Love it. I love just the overall intensity and the passion, and how, again, I just keep going back to everything you do is intentional, and everything that you coach on is intentional for organizations, when a lot of us may get stuck doing something else.
Yeah.
If you're a CEO out there listening and saying, hey, a lot of this resonates, I really want to make that SMB to mid-market jump, what's the first thing they do on Monday morning other than call you?
Build your fortress.
Build your fortress.
Yeah, build your fortress. Like take the smartest people you got. And if it's just one other person, fine. That's the start of your fortress. Build your fortress. Meet with that person or those people every week. Set time aside. Don't tell me you don't have the time. You do. 1 hour, talk about your priorities, and then assign tasks, right? This is what we're going to do. It's your game plan. Have your monthly and your quarterly reviews. Your quarterlies, that's I call them boulders, the biggest things that we do. We set goals for that, and have those collaborative sessions. Being a business owner, being a leader, as an entrepreneur, super lonely. And I remember when I worked with the guys at Death Wish Coffee early on, Mike Brown, the owner, asked me the best question I'd heard in all the times that I've been bringing on new clients. He said, what is it about you, if I were to hire you as my consultant, what is it about you that is different from all the other consultants? I get value for 30 days and then it stops. And I said, well, great question. I said, first of all, I did it. I'm not a consultant that I got a certificate. I did this. I ran companies, multiple, and built them and went through the wars. But I understand what you go through every single day. And there aren't a lot of people who have done that. Okay, so I have, and I've done it successfully. On top of that, my loyalty is to you first, period. I don't have an agenda other than your success and your happiness. My loyalty is to you as a person and your life. Number 2 is to your business. And number 3 is to your people, in that order. So we're going to make really good decisions. I'm the guy in the foxhole with you that understands. And you can tell me anything, you can share anything, and we do. And every business owner needs that person.
Well, I love everything I just heard. I feel like I should hire you right now on the spot. So, because I have a lot of the issues that you've already solved or help people solve. You've crafted your own frameworks, your own strategy, your own development. Do you lean toward potential operating systems or frameworks, or are you like Bruce Lee? You take a little piece from everything and start to craft your own?
It's really again, I have these series of beliefs, right? And how a company should run, things that you should do. So in that respect, I don't want to say it's my system, but it is the system of running a business. And again, most owners know what to do. If I told you you should hire good people, you wouldn't be surprised. Right? If I told you should have training and what, you wouldn't be surprised. If I told you should have a really good business development process, you wouldn't be surprised. Right? So there's these things that you have to do. So I don't subscribe to one theory. I think there's a lot of great programs out there. All of them have some value, but I don't think one of them is the only one.
Well, there's so much noise in the market right now, not even talking about the AI noise, but there's so much noise when it comes to entrepreneurial content because I don't know what the SMB market is. It's like 98% of every business or whatever it is. I'm making that stat up, so we'll fact check it later. but that you don't know what to do. So you're like, oh, I should do this, or oh, I should do this, and I should do this. And you're very reactive. I like that we keep coming back to prioritization. It's like, yes, you said I should know that I need to hire good people. Yes, I know I should put processes in place. I just don't prioritize it sometimes. So like you come in and like level set that and say, let's Derek Jeter this and put the lineup in the right way, in the right order. So
it's crazy to me when I talk to clients, and I get this a lot. They said, I read this book and the book says do this. So that's what we need to do. Because somebody wrote it in a book, that's it. It's the Bible. And there might be some truth in what that person in the book wrote, but it doesn't mean it's the only way. And it's like the book of the month. They take that and they go run with it. And then after 6 weeks, nothing changes and they go to another book. Like there's a very common sense leadership. It works every time.
Yeah. A lot of us love don't get me wrong. I take content in like crazy and I read books and I'm trying to piecemeal what I think is the best. But it always changes. I feel like it's one of my strengths is to be able to see those Bruce Lee moments where like, oh, this will work, but this may not work. And then it's in service of our clients and customers. Anyway, So Warren, great stuff. Love this. We Rise Consulting. We'll put that on screen. Where can people find you? Like, what's the best place? Website, LinkedIn?
You can go to WeRiseConsulting.com. You can certainly find me on LinkedIn. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, so that's probably the best place to find me.
How many Warren Zeisers are there?
I think I'm the only one.
I'm the only one. Okay. All right. So WeRiseConsulting.com or LinkedIn, Warren Zeiser. We'll put it on the screen. Why We Rise? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, the name?
Yeah.
I have my daughter to thank for it. I used to have a different name, and it was Dream Builder Consulting, which I don't know how I came up with that horrible name. It was terrible, and it's very long to put in. And I was talking to my daughter, who was like 16 years old at the time, and I had a series of names, and she's like, "Well, what do you do?" And I say, "No, I help companies grow and get better." And then somehow, We Rise came up, and she actually came up with the logo and the whole thing. I think she was 16 years old. So, and to me, it speaks to exactly what I believe. You and me. If you're my client and I'm your coach and consultant, we're going to do this together. Your team and you plus myself, we're going to do this together, and together we're going to rise.
I love it. So I love that your daughter has this skill set at 16 that you probably didn't have to pay for. So,
well, believe me, I paid for it.
As we all do.
Yeah.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, Warren, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been a great conversation. Lots of takeaways. This is GTM Get the Money Live. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Chris Ryan, Warren Zeiser, We Rise Consulting. See you next time.
Take care.
We go